Welcome back to the channel. This is Trinity Storm and you are watching second part of What If Naruto Mastered Ancient Shinobi Way. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share and subscribe to the channel. Now wasting no more time, let's start the story.
Naruto, his friends, and their new sensei have been running for 3 days, only stopping to eat and take a short break. On the third day, they came across what appeared to be a small cabin, which appeared to be quite simple and modest from the outside. "Wait here," the elderly man said as he entered the house. A few moments later, he emerged from the house, carrying a heavily laden backpack with pots and other necessary kitchenware dangling from its side and 3 layers of what appeared to be neatly folded pieces of cloth, that upon closer inspection, revealed to be 3 suits of clothing and 3 pairs of ninja tabis. As he approached the group of ninja trainees, he removed the backpack and handed it to Naruto, the suits of clothing to Hinata, and the staff to Akira. He made it look so easy, but the backpack and clothing were a lot heavier than they first perceived, causing Naruto to fall to his knees and Hinata's knees to buckle under her load. After looking at them with pity or disgust, the old man proceeded to flip through a list of hand seals, and as he completed them, holding the last seal, he looked his new students in the eye, serious as ever. "This is when your official training begins, Ninpo. Kagesachi no Jutsu," he said, as they began to sink into the ground. Hinata would have latched onto his arms if she hadn't been so exhausted. "Hokage-sama," Tsunade said, rising from her desk where she had been grudgingly doing her paperwork to face the Anbu kneeling before her. "I have urgent news." "What exactly is it?" "The Anbu team that was dispatched after Hyuga Hinata was killed." "What?" Tsunade was surprised. "Any evidence as to who did it and how, and where were they found?" "Evidence suggests that all 4 Anbu members were killed where they stood. By a single assailant." "How did they die?" "No damage was done to the skin, bones, or muscle tissue. Only the organs were damaged." Tsunade sighed at that last description. Only Juken could kill an enemy like that. She was still amazed that the shy, quiet Hyuga heiress could do such a thing, but the events leading up to her disappearance quickly dispelled that notion. Tsunade had a duty to fulfill, and it would break the hearts of everyone who knew her. "Update the bingo books to show Hyuga Hinata as an A-class missing nin to be apprehended on site." "Is there anything else, Hokage-sama?" "Yes," she said, anticipating the headache she'd get sooner or later. "Inform Hyuga Hiyashi." The Anbu agent then exited the office, leaving Tsunade alone with her thoughts. "Take care of her and yourself, Naruto, because from now on, both your lives and the lives of your other friends have become so much more difficult," she thought, a little sad as memories of her little brother flashed through her mind as she fingered the pendant around her neck. "Now what did Shizune do with my sake?" Master Kiyoshi and his new students emerged from the ground in front of a large traditional Japanese-style house. They entered the structure, leaving their shoes at the door, and entered a large meeting area where the master began to give them a tour of the area. There was a kitchen, an eating area, a large bedroom that Master Kiyoshi identified as his, and rooms that appeared to be for formal occasions, but the most startling thing was the lack of any modern conveniences, not even beds. The training areas, a large courtyard, and a very large dojo with weapons of every kind imaginable, from swords to ninja wire, were located in the back of the house. He indicated a door on the opposite side of the dojo. "You'll change in there," he said, handing them each a suit that seemed to weigh a ton. "From now until I deem you worthy ninjas, this is your new home. You will eat, sleep, and train together." Hinata blushed furiously at the thought of sleeping with Naruto, but Naruto was not as clueless as usual, having learned that Hinata loved him. "But master..." Akira couldn't finish because Kiyoshi cut her off. "Do you have a problem?" "Like hell," Naruto said. "There are girls here, and you expect us to change in the same room?" Master Kiyoshi simply started him and laughed. You appear to be severely lacking in discipline, so that is the first thing you must learn." He then vanished from view and grabbed Naruto from behind, pinning him to the ground in such a way that his shoulder felt like it was being ripped out of its socket. "Watch how you speak to others, it could be the end of you," Naruto said frostily as the sharp edge of a kunai pressed against his throat. "So what do you have to say for yourself?" Naruto stuttered, "Sorry. I apologize, master." "Good, now get up and go change, all of you," he yelled. "You chose the path of the ninja, so grow up." His 3 charges greeted him with a chorus of, "Hi master," but before they left the room, he gave them some advice. "Remember, as ninja, you cannot be distracted by the form of the opposite sex, as alluring as it may be. The final part is much quieter, and you must be as familiar with your companions as possible. There is nothing to be ashamed of, well as long as you don't become obsessed." This appeared to be reassuring to the 3, particularly Hinata. "Oh, and one more thing," he added as Akira paused to listen. "When you manage to get those suits on, meet me in the meeting room. You have half an hour, there I shall explain your tortu. I mean training. Good luck." He then walked away, not before placing the staff on an ornate weapon rack and closing the dojo's sliding door. With the exception of a few candle holders, the changing room was empty. There was an adjoining bathroom, but the door was locked. Naruto looked at the other girls, and they looked at him, each with tomato-like blush on their cheeks, waiting for the first move for 15 minutes. Akira let out a frustrated sigh. "Fine, if you two won't, I'll set an example." She took off her clothes and proceeded to remove her top and skirt. She had a slim build, a tanned complexion, and small breasts. She was dressed in matching blue underwear. She then unfolded the suit of clothing and hurriedly pulled it on, noting how difficult it was to move once it was on. "See, that wasn't so bad, now it's your turn," she said, frowning when she noticed neither Hinata nor Naruto had moved an inch. "Okay, how about you just turn your backs, that way you'd have some sort of privacy. Besides, master told us to meet him in 30 minutes and that was 15 minutes ago." Suddenly, being half-dressed in front of Hinata and seeing her half-dressed was no longer a big deal. The same can be said about Hinata. They both quickly turned their backs on each other and yanked their clothes off as quickly as they could. When they were both in nothing but their underwear, Hinata, for some reason she couldn't explain, turned slightly to see Naruto in nothing but boxers. Unfortunately, Naruto had the same thought. What he saw was an angel. She was curvy with a great figure and ample breasts. Her skin was smooth and soft, like moonflowers. She was blushing so much from all the attention that she would turn any tomato green with envy. "Please, Naruto-kun, you're staring." Her voice jolted him out of his reverie, and he quickly averted his gaze. "Sorry, Hinata-chan, I never noticed before, you're so beautiful," she blushed even more. "Naruto-kun just called me Chan and complimented me on my beauty." Naruto lowered his head. "You probably think I'm a pervert for looking. And no, I don't mind. After all, I looked. What was I saying?" She reflected as she realized what she had said. "Enough, you two lovebirds. I don't want Master Kyoshi punishing me for being late." That did the trick, and Naruto and Hinata hurriedly changed their clothes and dashed out the door to the meeting room, occasionally stealing glances at each other. Naruto and company finally arrived in the meeting room, panting and sweating profusely as they pushed aside the sliding door. The clothing they wore was not only extremely heavy, but it seemed to hinder every movement they made, making standing and walking a short distance a task in itself. Akira herself was barely able to make it as she needed assistance from both Naruto and Hinata. Master Kyoshi sat on a cushion on the tatame-covered floor behind a low desk, sipping tea and looking at his 3 tardy students with absolute sternness as he invited them to sit on the cushions across from him, which was awkward because the clothing hampered all of their movement. "You've come to hear me explain the rules of this place," Naruto groaned, which was heard by Master Kyoshi, who launched a senbon from nowhere at a pressure point on Naruto's arm meant to inflict pain. "My estimation of your current skill level and a few guidelines." As he said this, he reached over and plucked the senbon from Naruto's arm, relieving his brief agony. "Discipline can be learned in one or more ways. It is up to you to decide how you want to learn it," he explained. "Is that correct?" "Whatever, old man," Naruto said quietly, pouting and folding his arms. "Just give us the stupid rules and start training us." A senbon was immediately lodged in both arms, causing the blonde Jinchuriki to grit his teeth in pain. Hinata, who was seated by his side, was about to comfort him when she was stopped by a firm hand coupled with the resistance of the suit. It was Master Kyoshi shaking his head, no, to her actions. "What was it that I thought I heard in my ear?" He pretended to be unaware. "Sensei, yes. That's what I thought," he said as he reached over to take the senbon, "as I previously stated. The rules are straightforward, as follows. Never, ever be late. Respect must be shown to me and your companions at all times, even during formal occasions. No one may try to persuade another not to leave. Except when bathing or sleeping, training uniforms must be worn at all times. There are no complaints. Be prepared for the unexpected. After you have completed your training, you may train whomever you deem worthy, but you must accept responsibility for that person's actions. Finally, never reveal the location of this location or the source of your training." 8 rules, none of which they'd heard before, and what's with the no complaints and expect the unexpected rule? Burn these 8 rules into your memory and never forget them. Write them down if necessary, but you will be governed by these rules for the rest of your life. Following that, you are free to make your own choices. "Hi Sensei," they all said at the same time. "Good," he said, a smile on his lips. "Now, the guidelines I'm about to give you are for your benefit and following them will greatly help you in your training. So pay close attention and feel free to ask for clarification on anything when I'm finished." They all nodded, varying degrees of excitement over the prospect of finally training. "Take everything one step at a time, be patient with yourself, and rest when you need to rest," he said solemnly, "and most importantly, never let your emotions guide you. Let them strengthen you and motivate you, but a decision based solely on emotions such as hate, anger, jealousy, greed, and vengeance is a poor decision that will only lead to suffering." Naruto felt a wave of sadness wash over him. The words the old man spoke had a profound effect on him because he knew firsthand what he was talking about. Now that that has been stated, remember and adhere to it. Do you have any questions? Hinata was the first to speak up this time. "How come you keep saying we can leave whenever we want?" "It's because," he added for emphasis, "the strongest ninja isn't the one with the ZZZZZ. Master Kyoshi abruptly fell asleep, leaving Hinata, Naruto, and Akira speechless. What happened just now? Is he dead? Naruto inquired. No Naruto-kun, Hinata chuckled, he fell asleep. Are you serious? How the hell does that happen? It's only 12, Akira wondered. It's because he's really old and Naruto never got to finish that line because Master Kyoshi abruptly opened his eyes and resumed right where he had left off. The one with the most ninjutsu, strongest taijutsu, fastest speed, most powerful genjutsu, or even the strongest muscle, but the one with the strongest mind, and I'm not talking about being able to think. He came to a halt and looked inquisitively at his 3 students, who were staring at him with saucer-sized eyes and jaws on the floor, and smirked, feeling rather accomplished by their expressions, if only he knew. Alright, if that's all your questions, let me estimate your skill level. They returned to normalcy as a result. First up is Akira of the Suken clan, she expected. You have none, but have an advanced bloodline limit. She wasn't upset because it was true, and she wasn't one to delude herself. The Hyuga clan's Hinata is up next. She braced herself, pathetic, not because of a lack of skill or strength. In fact, you are stronger than I would expect, particularly in terms of control, but you limit yourself with stupid fear and indecision and are only truly strong when he is present to witness. That will not suffice. You must discover your own strength and use it as a driving force rather than a source of recognition. The words hit her like a freight train, but they had the desired effect. He is correct. I must find my own strength and grow to be as powerful as Naruto-kun. And Naruto, chuckled Master Kyoshi, I see tremendous potential in each of you, but yours appears to be far greater than that of anyone I have ever known or met, including myself. But, since you're a hothead with some of the worst chakra control I've ever seen, I'm still amazed at how you're able to do that strange technique with the blue ball of chakra. I am impressed by your ability to perform Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, but I wonder if you are aware of the vast possibilities of that technique. Finally, your taijutsu is atrocious. You lack form, and even if you did, none of your punches or kicks are lethal. For the first time in his life, Naruto was speechless. The old man had already measured him and found him wanting in a few sentences. Now follow me outside so we can get started, and don't keep me waiting. The three students were finally outside 45 minutes later. It took them 15 minutes just to stand up. Now that you're here, start running and don't stop until I tell you to, Master Kyoshi instructed. I need to see where I need to start with you. They ran non-stop all day until one by one they began to collapse from exhaustion, until finally Naruto came to a crashing halt after 5 kilometers, having covered a distance considered reasonable for a genin with the exception of Akira, who couldn't make it past 400 meters. Okay. Meditate for 15 minutes, and then I'll teach you how to conceal weapons so you don't have to carry that pouch and holster all the time, he said calmly. I've already set fire to your weapons pouch and holsters. He began to demonstrate the art of concealing weapons after they had meditated. Now you try, he said, making an entire box of senbon, 20 kunai, 40 shuriken, a pair of kamas, a pair of sei, a short sword, and a fuma shuriken appear from his clothing and then disappear back into it. He then unfurled a scroll from beneath his robes and unlocked an arsenal 3 times the size of what he was carrying. The weapons were amusing because they were all made of construction paper. These are your new weapons, and you are not allowed to use real ones until you can use them like real weapons, he said, noting the expressions of his 3 students, reason being, a ninja must be able to make anything in his hands a deadly weapon, from a stick to a peanut. Now start concealing these weapons. When I return there must be nothing left in your piles and I must not see any unusual bulges. But he paused before entering the house.
And don't bend them. When you get the hang of it, you can wash up, eat, and rest, but your real training starts tomorrow, he said as he walked away. Enjoy this freedom while it lasts, because tomorrow your new life begins and your old life ends.
Naruto and the girls were treated to a meal of rice, fish, and vegetables later that day, after they had mastered the art of concealing weapons. Akira asked Master Kyoshi where they were during dinner.
He told them that this was a place where every hour only half of it had passed in the outside world, and that the name of the place was the Mountain of Forgotten Wounds.
He gave it that name after saying something about time healing all wounds. They returned to their room after dinner, where they were to sleep side by side on futons, but not before first showering. Master Kyoshi locked them all in the room, telling them it was for their own good and that they needed to become less distracted by the opposite gender's body, and that Naruto was lucky to be getting such good training and that he needed to grow up and stop acting like a child, and that he would get used to it. They eventually grew accustomed to seeing such sights, but that didn't stop Naruto from harboring romantic feelings for Hinata and vice versa. She was a goddess to him. After they had settled in, Master Kyoshi entered and informed them of the 3 charts on the ceiling, one of which was a chart of pressure points and their effects, death, paralysis, and unconsciousness, and the other a chart of striking points and their effects. Remember each of these points and their effects, as well as combining consecutive pressure points or striking points, and make them second nature to you. He then walked away, leaving 3 tired students staring at the ceiling. Tomorrow will be the beginning of the end. It was 5 o'clock in the morning, and our 3 ninjas in training were all snug and warm on their futons, dreaming happy dreams, until a bucket of ice-cold water was thrown on them, jolting them awake. They're not used to the water on the mountain yet. You have 20 minutes to get ready and eat breakfast before meeting me behind the house. He then vanished into the shadows of the room. Naruto and the girls complied, albeit reluctantly, as they quickly washed up, changed into their training suits, and ate breakfast, but they soon felt sick when they saw what Master Kyoshi had set up for them at the back of the house.
The back of the house looked like a forest and got darker as you looked further back, and there was a lake to the right, but that was not the cause of their sudden illness.
The back of the house resembled something out of a war movie, except there were a lot more working traps. There was an obstacle course that began with a 12-foot wall and a single 50-foot ninja wire attached to the top of the wall, as well as a pole of similar height. More poles were scattered haphazardly about in various heights leading to the lake, and from the lake thin slabs of either cardboard or sheeting ply on the surface in an arc leading back to the land where rows of swinging blades awaited them to pass through, followed by a jungle of ribbons and soft material, all with a large sheet of foil paper underneath and a second 12-foot wall with a board perched on a stand on the other end, not to mention everything else. The scariest part was the things they could see. The old man cleared his throat to get their attention as they stared wide-eyed at the torture machine.
Before you begin, stretch, then do 50 push-ups, 75 sit-ups, and a 5-kilometer jog, then get going.
To some, that sounded exactly like a warm-up, but when you're not used to wearing tabbies, a suit that resists every movement you make and adds 50 pounds to your body, this warm-up felt more like a Sunday jog across Canada. They had finished their warm-up in 2 hours. Naruto had no idea how much further he could go, Hinata had no idea how she made it, and Akira, the only non-ninja, was in tears as Master Kyoshi had practically forced them all to finish, and yet she did not give up even though he taunted, ridiculed, and belittled them all the way. Okay, now for the hard part, he said, smiling contently, but before we do Naruto, impressive stamina, Hinata. I saw you nearly give up a few times before looking at Naruto and changing your mind. Remember, the strength that you want is within you. All you have to do is believe in yourself, not somebody else. Akira, nice determination, especially considering you had no prior training. Naruto scratched his chin. Hinata looked determined, feeling more motivated than ever. There was no way she was going to let a non-ninja, friend or not, show her up, and Akira smiled broadly while blushing from the praise she had received. But that was just the warm-up. All feelings of pride had faded, but the motivation and determination remained, particularly for Hinata. Akira, I can't teach you more than the basics, so for now I want you to practice with weapon throwing over there. Remember, no real weapons. I will be over there in a moment to check your progress and give you pointers. Hello, sensei. With that, she dragged herself 30 feet away from a human-shaped dummy with red dots painted on the same key points from the charts in their rooms. How the hell am I supposed to throw paper cutouts and toothpicks without them blowing away or even sticking in the stupid dummy? This is impossible, she concluded, resigning herself to her fate. Master Kyoshi was explaining their assignment, or torture, or whatever you want to call it, to Naruto. First and foremost, I forbid the use of chakra in this exercise, which seemed to take the wind out of Naruto's sail. You must scale the wall, Move across the tight wire while killing or incapacitating the hidden targets. If you don't, they attack back. Hop from pole to pole without falling while dodging the weapons I will be throwing at you. Run across the sheets on the lake and kill or incapacitate the targets in the boat without falling in. Make it through the blades with your... Naruto and Hinata were as pale as ghosts now, but it didn't stop there. Oh, if I hear a bell, hear the foil, see the ribbon or sheets move, or you get hit by a weapon, you start over immediately, and you will do this every day except Sunday until you can do the entire course in 10 seconds or less, he said with a sadistic grin. Hey, no need to worry. This is only level 1. Oh, by the way, and no bloodline ability. Begin. With that, he vanished, and Akira, some distance away, laughed her head off at her companion's misfortune. She had no idea that this fate would befall her sooner or later. It was now the weekend, and Naruto and Hinata had made no progress beyond the tight wire. In fact, they couldn't even get on it without making the bell jingle, which was getting on Naruto's nerves. They awoke Sunday morning expecting to make no progress, except for Akira, who was making marginal progress in weapons throwing. Ah, groaned Naruto as he was rudely awakened by Master Kyoshi. No need to be that way, he said, smiling, we'll be taking a break today. Naruto instantly brightened up. Is there no training today? I never said that, he replied, but today I'd be working on the less physical aspects of your training and giving you a few pointers to complete the obstacle course so you don't have to wear your training suit, but I expect you to be fully armed and put on these weights. Within a few minutes, the three were dressed in clothes brought by Master Kyoshi. They wore black pants and white karate gi jackets that were tied with a black sash. They were all gathered in the dojo after breakfast as the last master began talking to them about the purpose of the obstacle course, which was speed, stealth, sharpening reflexes and senses, or agility, and that a ninja without these skills is not a ninja at all. Then, seemingly out of nowhere, he pulled out a shogi board and asked who knew how to play. Hinata and Akira knew, but Naruto didn't. The old man told Hinata and Akira to play while he explained the rules to Naruto, but a thought occurred to him during the discussion. Naruto. Sensei, yes.
I have to ask you a question, Master Kyoshi said, and please be honest.
I will not hold your answer against you.
Naruto looked perplexed but nodded yes.
It's about the beast that's been sealed within you. Naruto suddenly appeared depressed. He hadn't recovered from what happened to Hinata the last time he used its power. How about it? He inquired. Are you going to use its power? No. He exclaimed, his eyes filled with rage at the Kyuubi. I lost control and hurt Hinata-chan. I will never use that damn fox's chakra again. The master chuckled, pleased with his pupil. However, as a Jinchuriki, you have a responsibility to never lose control in any situation. What exactly do you mean? When you get angry, it uses your rage to gain control of you. So what can I do? If I ever see that snake bastard who took Sasuke again, I'm not sure what I'll do, he said, his eyes turning red with slits. Just thinking about that bastard is making me angry. Calm down, Naruto. You're already beginning to change. Naruto snapped out of his rage, and his eyes returned to their normal blue color. Sorry. Don't worry. I can teach you to control the beast no matter how much of its chakra you use or how angry you get, but it will take intense mental discipline training in addition to your physical training, he said flatly. The best part is that you will be immune to all genjutsu except those that take you into the user's mind, which you can only defend yourself to a certain extent. Really, when do we start? Naruto exclaimed, practically bouncing off the walls. I'm going to learn genjutsu.
Master Kyoshi exhaled a sigh. I guess I'll have to teach him to pay attention, but that's part of the purpose of the shogi. First, you have to master that obstacle course, Naruto said, lowering his head, and now come on, we have a game of shogi to play, this will be good for you, it builds patience, which is good for mental discipline. Naruto, Hinata and Akira have been training in the ways of the ancient shinobi for 2 years under the eccentric nin master, Jinta Kyoshi.
He had made their lives hell. Every time they came close to meeting the crazy old man's standards in the obstacle course, he threw something new at them, such as greasing the wire, setting traps on the targets to launch kunais at them if they missed a critical point that would either render the target dead or immobile, increasing their weights, forcing them to use different weapons, and, of course, if they set off any traps, they would have to start over. Oh, and the rope must not break. This may not seem like much, but considering they now carried enough weights to make even Rock Lee give up, well, Naruto at least, and yet they had to scale 12-foot walls, move across flimsy-looking tight wire, hop from pole to pole, and avoid deadly projectiles thrown at them randomly, all while completing the course in less than 10 seconds. Did I mention that Master Kyoshi now made a habit of attacking them with deadly precision every now and then to keep them alert to their surroundings? Sundays, which were supposed to be their day of rest, were becoming increasingly difficult. It all began when Naruto mastered the rules of shogi and became proficient enough to play. You can master something and still get your $1 handed to you. He started them playing shogi without the board, something about improving their concentration. Needless to say, Naruto sucked the most, and his lack of concentration frequently led to bickering between him and his adopted sister, Akira, and occasionally Hinata. Oh, and Hinata has come out of her shell, speaking back to Naruto whenever he does something stupid or inappropriate, but she still loves him, perhaps even more. Naruto had also come to see Hinata in the same way he had once thought he saw Sakura. He loved her and she loved him so much that they began sleeping wrapped in each other's arms, and it was this love and his new goals that kept his drive, and kept him going like a man possessed. The same could be said about Hinata, who wasn't far behind but was far better than Naruto in the more mental aspects. All of this in a single year. The second year made the first look like a walk in the park. This is where the extra weights came in. From his dodge and catch games to the survival missions, Master Kyoshi was turning sadistic. The survival missions were actually training missions designed to sharpen their senses and increase their awareness. What happened? He teleported them into the dark forest behind the house, blindfolded them, and told them they couldn't leave until they could hear his attacks. It was difficult at first because the old man moved like a ghost and pounced on them with animal ferocity and precision that made him truly worthy of his title. This took 6 months because he did it separately. After that, it was time to sharpen their vision. He simply led them to a dark area of the forest and instructed them to find a few items. These objects were far too small and the surroundings far too dark for anyone to see, so it took them another 3 months. In the end, Hinata was forbidden to use her Byakugan because Master Kyoshi said it would be better for her if she didn't. You'll be surprised at how well you do if you master this. Finally, there's the catch and dodge game. It was a simple game. Master Kyoshi would line up one of his students against a wall and launch projectiles at them, beginning with rocks and progressing to kunai before aiming for more and more lethal targets. The student could only dodge if he or she stayed within the permitted area. Unfortunately, that permitted area began to shrink and shrink until the person had to catch the projectile before being impaled through the heart, and by the way, caught weapons cannot be deflected unless they are used to throw at another projectile. Everything must be caught or avoided. Unfortunately, Master Kyoshi was not one to simply let his students master something at the Junin level. Instead, he pushed them almost to the breaking point, which is why after they could survive with their eyes open, he did it with blindfolds on and within a circle with the other 2 students throwing to kill. The rest day was spent meditating beneath a freezing heavy waterfall. This particular exercise was especially beneficial because it improved mental discipline and strength, which Naruto required given that he was the least talented in Genjutsu, bringing us to the 3rd year of this training. The waterfall's water was cold, very cold, and at times there was ice in it, and the students would have to spend the entire day under this icy cascade. This exercise was risky because they could catch pneumonia or freeze to death, but their sensei was with them the entire time, giving them advice and lectures as they meditated until he felt they were strong enough to continue without him. I know this is difficult to accept, but when you are able to sit under it without being bothered by the force of the water or its frosty bite, then your mind will be a fortress, he said wisely, and with a strong mind, obstacles that stop even the will be overcome, your strength will be immeasurable for the mind conquers all. This particular exercise helped Hinata a lot. While she wasn't as strong as Naruto, she was a damn good second. When they weren't meditating or playing no board shogi, they were studying physiology, specifically critical and weak points of the body and how to best exploit them. They researched poisons and antidotes, their effects, strengths, and limitations, as well as where to obtain them. They investigated pressure points, their effects, and their sequences.
They studied psychology, specifically how to manipulate an opponent's perceptions with a few gestures and/or words in order to induce fear or sadness or to obtain information.
Master Kyoshi even taught them the art of seduction, teaching them how to bend a man, for the girls, to their whims, and how to bend a woman, for Naruto, to his whims through certain motions, actions, gestures, and words.
Oryoke no Jutsu wins every time.
They researched seals and their applications, as well as their advantages and disadvantages and proper application. The third year had begun, and Master Kyoshi was proud of his students, especially Naruto, who had mastered everything he had thrown at him over the previous 2 years, the meditations, the obstacle course, and whatever else the old sadist threw at him, and he had not only survived, but thrived. Hinata was no slouch either. She had transformed from a shy, timid young woman into a beautiful, confident, and strong young woman who drew strength from herself and her own desires. Despite being far behind Naruto and Hinata, Akira was making significant progress. "I am proud of the three of you," Master Kyoshi said, proudly smiling. Naruto smiled proudly, while Hinata and Akira also smiled proudly. "But your training is far from finished," the joy faded. "Akira, you will begin the obstacle course today." "Hi sensei," she replied, excitement and nervousness bubbling beneath the surface. She immediately left to begin the very exercise that made her laugh so hard at Naruto when he messed up. "Don't worry, Akira-ne-chan," Naruto said, "it's just hell for the first few weeks." "Way to boost my confidence, Naruto-kun," she grumbled as Naruto smiled cheekily at her. "Alright, now that you've had your fun," Master Kyoshi said, "I want you two to warm up and meet me back here. Today we start in the arts of ninjutsu, genjutsu, and taijutsu, not necessarily in that order." Naruto had never been happier in his life, and he finished his warm-up in record time. Most people would consider the warm-up to be a full-course workout, consisting of 700 push-ups, 1,000 upside-down sit-ups, a 10-mile run, and flawlessly completing the obstacle course, all while wearing that restricting suit and wearing enough weights to make Guy proud, or scared. HMHMHM. You seem quite excited, Naruto-kun. He chuckled lightly as he watched Naruto happily hop up and down while Hinata finished up the obstacle. "We will begin as soon as your girlfriend finishes." In another time and place, Naruto would have blushed madly and Hinata would have fainted, but because of their proximity and frequent exposure to one another, Naruto realized and Hinata opened up to him and told him how she felt. In any case, Hinata had completed her task, and Master Kyoshi began to explain. "I'll teach you ninjutsu and genjutsu last because they'll be the easiest to learn and require the least amount of practice," he said in a teacherly tone, "but they'll also require preparation." "What do you mean, sensei?" Hinata asked. 3 of the 5 requirements for learning them have already been acquired thanks to my training. The last will be taught to you in due course." "Does that mean you're going to start teaching us taijutsu?" "That's right, Naruto-kun," he said with a knowing smile. "I'll teach you 2 taijutsu styles, the closed fist and the open palm, which Hinata may know as Juken." Hinata exclaimed. How does he know Jiyuken? Hinata wondered. Do not be misled, Hinata. Jiyuken is a corruption of the open palm. I should know, as it was my elders in this ancient way who trained the first Hyuga ninja. Unfortunately, they corrupted it with a false sense of strength, he said, seeing Hinata's growing shocked expression. Come, I shall demonstrate. They followed him into the dojo, where there were several training dummies set up. The dummies appeared to be typical straw training dummies, but they were actually blocks of wood carved into the shape of a human, with every part covered in soft material. The ancient master assumed the basic Jiyuken stance and charged at the dummies, moving in a manner unlike anything they had ever seen. He seemed to be gliding across the surface of wet ice on polished skates, not touching the ground. He moved with a graceful deadliness, as if he were the offspring of ballet and kenjutsu. The strikes were all lethal, accurate to the heart, head, and other vital organs, and they were not typical Jiyuken strikes. The strikes did not include any chakra bursts or associated noise. Rather, the strikes did nothing more than lightly tap the victim. When he came to a halt, Naruto was unimpressed. He was awestruck by Master Kiyoshi's speed and grace, but none of the dummies had any damage or chakra burn on them. That wasn't as cool as Jiyuken, Hinata said, unsure what he was talking about, but the way you moved was amazing. To be fair, Naruto had no idea what he was talking about. He didn't fully understand what he saw and why it was better. You don't think so, do you? Nope. Okay, take a look at this. Master Kiyoshi undid the bindings that held the material to the wooden dummies, and Naruto watched intently. What he witnessed gave him a whole new appreciation for this style and the master. On the material, the areas where Master Kiyoshi had struck the dummies were unharmed, but the wood underneath was not so lucky. It was sawdust. As he removed the material, all that remained were holes where sawdust had poured from the polished dojo floor, holes in which a real person's kidneys, liver, heart, brain, lungs, stomach, and gut would have been completely destroyed, reduced to nothing but pulp. Wow, was the only word that could come out of Naruto's mouth as he witnessed the effects of the seemingly harmless dance. Hinata's mouth widened. Glad to see your approval, they could only nod. Now I'll show you the closed fist. The closed fist was far less graceful, but it was fluid and powerful, destroying dummies and punching holes through them. Though not graceful, it was equal to in precision and speed, with power and strength also being criteria. Unlike fluidity, which was not as important in the open palm style. Before you begin any of these styles, your chakra control must be up to my standard. Naruto and Hinata both knew what he meant when he said, my standard. Put your hands up. He poured a handful of multicolored sand into their palms. They appeared perplexed. What are we supposed to do with this? Hinata inquired before Naruto could respond. This is a chakra control exercise I call sand molding. The sand in your hand is 5 different colors, and you must separate and align them to separate fingers using your chakra. They blanched at the thought. This was simply not right. Oh, and when you can do that in under 10 seconds, we'll move on to the second stage. Naruto and Hinata both groaned. Naruto groaned because he knew how much effort this would take and how bad his chakra control was.
Hinata groaned because she wanted to learn the true Juken.
They did, however, begin the task. The exercise took a week to complete, with 4 days spent getting the right amount of chakra and 3 days spent getting it up to speed. Hinata finished before Naruto and moved on to the second stage, powder molding, which is similar to sand molding but harder because the sand particles are larger and easier to move. The key was simply to use the proper amount of chakra. Too much in the sand or powder would be blown all over the place, while too little would cause nothing to move. Completing these 2 exercises would perfect anyone's chakra control because the margin for error was almost zero. Perfection. It took them over 2 weeks to perfect this exercise, with Naruto lagging behind, but his and Hinata's control were now perfect.
They would not realize how beneficial their level of control was to them until much later.
Master Kyoshi, satisfied that they were under his command, began teaching the 2 forms of taijutsu. He began by showing them the strikes and movement for the open palm, as well as 3 kata, each of which required nothing less than perfection in speed, grace, and execution. After training them in the closed fist technique in a similar manner. After another month of training in both styles, he decided to take things to the next level. Naruto, Hinata, come. They paused their kata and approached him. I am pleased with your progress, so I will increase your workload. What do you mean, Kyoshi-sensei? Asked Naruto. Along with these 2 styles, you will learn nature manipulation. Naruto was perplexed. This is the arts of manipulating the elements around you, but I will not stop at just manipulating elements. You will be able to bend it to your will. Furthermore, I'm skipping shape manipulation because you have already mastered it due to my training. Huh? Said Naruto, thoughtfully. Make that orb thing of yours, and don't use a shadow clone, Master Kyoshi said. Oh okay, I'll try, he said, unsure of himself because he had never done it without the help of his clones. Here goes. Naruto held out his hands, hardly believing that a blue sphere of destruction was poised in his hand, with no clones, sweat, or even effort. Wow, he said before dismissing the Rasengan, so what element are Hinata-chan and I? She was no longer embarrassed when Naruto called her that, though it still made her cheeks flush. I was getting to that, he explained. Take a piece of paper and force chakra into it, and I will tell you your affinity. They both took a piece of paper and exclaimed in surprise as they poured their chakra into it. While Hinata got wet, Naruto's paper split right down the middle. Interesting. What is intriguing, sensei? Hinata inquired. What does this mean? Both of you are from Konoha, and yet neither of your affinities is fire, as well as the fact that both of you have the elements, he explained, stroking his beard. Naruto, your element is that of wind, the most powerful for close and medium-range combat. It has quite a force and can cut anything, not to mention, that affinity is rare. Naruto couldn't believe his luck and wondered if his father shared the same affinity. Your affinity is water, silent and graceful yet deadly and dangerous despite its beauty, Hinata. I never thought of water that way, Hinata said, awestruck by her surroundings, but what makes having these elements so intriguing? It's because these elements are a pair because of their similarities. They're fluid, gentle by nature, with hidden and, most of the time, inescapable deadliness. I see, Naruto said, his face sad. Is there a pair of fires? Are you thinking of Sasuke again? Naruto perked up. Hinata's guess was correct as her arms drew him into a comforting hug. Yes, the partner of fire is electricity. They are both obvious and do not hide their strength, and at the same time their strength is borrowed as neither can be dangerous without a medium, fire, the air, and electricity metal or certain liquids, he stated like an all-knowing sage. But tell me, who is this Sasuke person to you, and why do you seem so sullen just by his name or his element? Hinata spoke for Naruto before he could respond. He was our rookie of the year and a member of Naruto Genin-kun's team. They had a brotherly dislike for each other, and Sasuke was Naruto first kun's and only best friend. So, why the long face, and did he die? No, this time Naruto took the reins, he said. He betrayed us all and went to a man called Orochimaru. I and some others from our year group chased after him until I was the only one still chasing. When I caught up to him, he told me that he was going to that snake bastard so that he could get power to kill his brother, and he didn't care how dark or evil that power was or that Orochimaru. I see, the old man said quietly. You want to reclaim what you lost. Yes. There isn't anything wrong with that except.
Except what, old man?
Naruto exclaimed. his rage boiling over. You never lost your friend Naruto. Your friend left of his own free will. You said so why do you think you have to get him back? He asked nonchalantly. Besides, what will you do if you find him and take him back to Konoha? What exactly do you mean? Well, you're supposed to be dead, and your home village doesn't think much of you, and Hinata is a class nin. Realization hit him as he realized he was putting his love's life in danger. Not only that, but I made a promise. I understand, he said with an understanding nod. It is your nindo to never give up and to never break your word, which I admire. Just be careful of what promises you make and to whom you make them, because we have wasted enough time. They immediately straightened at his now authoritative tone.
For now, until I tell you otherwise, this is the schedule you will follow. He tossed them a pair of uninteresting-looking wrist weights, but when they put them on, it was like lifting a truck. Next, every day after your warm-up you will practice your taijutsu. Open palm on Monday and Tuesday and closed fist on Wednesday and Thursday, and on the last 3 days I will instruct you in the elemental arts.
Hi. And Naruto, since you already know Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, I'd like you to practice your katas with at least 50 clones at the same time, increasing by that number weekly. Hello, sensei? What exactly is it, Naruto? How will that benefit my training? You mean you're unaware that the experience and knowledge gained by a clone is transferred to the original after it is expelled? Master Kyoshi and Hinata Sweat exclaimed, really, wow, that's so awesome. Anyway, keep doing what you were doing, Hinata said, but before he could leave to supervise Akira, he asked him a question. Pardon me if I sound envious, but could you teach me the technique so that I can train harder as well? I'd love to, but that training technique is prohibited, he said in a solemn voice. So, why are you forcing Naruto-kun to train in this manner? Hinata became agitated when Master Kyoshi chuckled. Because he has far greater natural stamina than anyone his age and even many adults I've ever seen, he is the only one who can do that training. Master Kyoshi expected Hinata to become enraged or storm out in a rage and claim favoritism, but he didn't expect Hinata to become starry-eyed and begin to squeal in delight about how powerful, talented, and cool her Naruto-kun was. She's definitely come out of her shell. However, Hinata paused in her admiration. You can do it, just not at that level, so I will teach you the technique, but be warned, any more than 1 or 2 clones at a time and you will die from exhaustion. Naruto took nearly 2 weeks to master the wind element and a month to master the water element. Hinata mastered the water element in less than a month and the wind element in less than 2 months. It would have taken much longer without the shadow clones.
They had also mastered one of the 2 techniques, with Naruto mastering the closed fist and Hinata mastering the open palm.
But now came the difficult part. Now that you can manipulate your element and its partner, you must learn to bend it, Master Kyoshi said wisely. This is the truly difficult part, so pay attention. They immediately focused their attention on the elderly man in front of them. Manipulation is the use of chakra to use an element, but bending has no chakra involved. You must understand the workings of your element inside and out and make it feel like it is a part of your body and soul. How do we do it, sensei? Hinata inquired. You must suffer almost to death, and it is at that point that you will discover understanding. To say they were disappointed would be an understatement, but they would not give up because that is their nindo. Go home and relax, but don't eat because you'll start tomorrow morning, and if you don't succeed, you'll die. The next day arrived a little too quickly for their liking, but it arrived nonetheless. The old man told them that their weights and restricting training uniform were unnecessary and would only hinder them. He led them to the river and instructed Naruto to sit on one of the rocks in front of the waterfall, while Hinata sat in the water and instructed them to meditate on their element. Before I go, let me give you some advice. Each element has its own personality. Water is easygoing yet unstoppable, while wind is light-hearted and free, but they both have the ability to become unforgiving and merciless with unbridled strength and power. Remember that everything has life. Respect that life, and it will reveal its true self. Wait, sensei, Naruto said as he walked away, his sensei looking over his shoulder. How will we know when we've accomplished this? You will know, he said simply. Now close your eyes and concentrate on what I have told you. I will be here when you awaken. As he walked away, he said the last part with confidence and pride. Normally, a person cannot go without food or water for more than a day or two without passing out, but Naruto and Hinata, while still human, are anything but normal.
It had been a week since they began their journey to fully awaken their respective element, as Master Kyoshi strolled to the waterfall where his two prized pupils had meditated for about a week without food or water.
Seems like I'm on time, he thought. Show me the potential of your power, and I'll teach you how to be truly strong. As he was thinking this, something truly remarkable happened. The clouds above turned dark and threatening, and the air around Naruto began to stir gently at first, but then became violent and angry, as if it had a life of its own. It began to bend and uproot the nearby trees while howling at the more stubborn ones. At the same time, the water around Hinata swirled and churned violently, as if it had its own life, mixing its rage with that of the wind. The water splashed, sloshed, and lashed out at the river's banks, scattering massive boulders like paper. The river became a tempest of unbridled fury and unspeakable power as the fury of the water combined with the fury of the wind, with the dark clouds above echoing the rage below with thunder. If Master Kyoshi had not been a ninja of immense skill and power, he would have been swept away and or sliced to bits by raging water or blown away and or sliced to bits by wind of equal wrath. But as quickly as the storm appeared, it vanished, the water calming and forming a calm swirl around Hinata's form before settling completely, and the wind becoming a gentle breeze around Naruto's form as they both slowly opened their eyes.
Fortunately, Master Kyoshi was there to collect Naruto and Hinata, who had been fasting for a week and had lost all strength.
You have made me proud today, not even I can command such power, the old nin master said as he transported his two students. By the way you two are going, I say there is only a year or so before your training is complete, he added, that is if they can pass my 3 tests. To think you two accomplished that in such a short time. Master Kyoshi praised his two students as they shoveled food at the rate of an akimichi. At the rate you two are going, I might have to step up your training even more. Shenzhai, shank you. It's rude, chomp, to speak, chomp, with food in your mouth, Naruto-kun, Hinata said between large chomps of food. I apologize, chomp, Hinata-chan. Slow down, you two, or you'll choke to death, Akira said from behind as he walked into the kitchen and sat next to the 2 hungry children. As much as I enjoy this revelry, I must inform you that your training is complete. Naruto and Hinata stopped eating and focused their attention on the aged master, waiting to hear what he had to say because, in any case, objections were out of the question. I expect the 2 of you to master the style that you haven't mastered, and when you do, I will teach you the final style that combines the 2, making it truly the most powerful taijutsu. Next, I will further strengthen your mind so that you may be impervious to genjutsu and torture, and especially for you Naruto. You two will also be given ninjutsu and genjutsu scrolls to learn. Only 2, Naruto said, a grin on his face. What exactly is that? When do we begin, and why specifically Naruto-kun? Hinata finished Naruto's thought with a grin that matched the one on her love's face, shocking both Akira and Kyoshi. To answer your first question, once your strength returns, because you won't be this comfortable until your training is finished. Whatever he meant, it took their grins away. And the second question? Naruto inquired, slightly concerned. Because you are a Jinchuriki, your strength over your own mind is as important, if not more important, than physical strength in order to gain control over the beast within. He paused to catch his breath, and finally, you must accept it as a part of you. Denying it would only make the struggle harder. Naruto looked thoughtful for a moment. This was going to be difficult. How could he just accept something that had plagued him for as long as he could remember? Time alone will tell. The rest of the third year and a portion of the fourth passed, with the training becoming more and more tortuous by the day.
To further develop their mental strength, Master Kyoshi had them live and train in the wilderness with nothing more than the bare necessities to survive weather, scorching hot sun, freezing cold nights, heavy downpours, and injuries, if any, all the while enduring increasing levels of genjutsu used on them by Master Kyoshi with the intention of breaking their minds and for a more relaxing day walking on hot coals, mind over matter as he put it.
It didn't help when he told them they couldn't physically or verbally support each other and that they could only do so in spirit. All while drilling the fundamentals of kenjutsu into them. Master Kyoshi was of the opinion that because a weapon is an extension of the body, it is up to them to develop their own style, one that they can call their own. Throughout it all, he kept increasing their weight to dangerous levels. When they weren't being tortured or mastering the final style, which combined open palm with closed fist, they learned ninjutsu and genjutsu. It was known as Odayaka Kotetsu. When their training was completed, he led them out of the wilderness to begin their trials. They hadn't seen each other or their adopted big sister Akira in a long time, so their reunion was a pleasant surprise. When Naruto and Hinata saw each other, they dashed towards each other, eager to feel the other in their arms. Naruto looked Hinata in her pale lavender eyes as they finally came into each other's arms after being separated for so long, and though she looked a complete mess, he had never seen such beauty in his life. Hinata felt the same way as she stared into his blue eyes and felt his strong arms caress all the womanly features of her body. They kissed, warmly and passionately, as if to say, "Please don't ever leave me again, and I will never leave your side," but their little lovers' reunion was cut short when they heard their teacher forcefully clearing his throat to get their attention. "Now, if I may have your attention," he said as Naruto scratched the back of his head in embarrassment and Hinata glowed a shade of red not seen in nearly 4 years. "Your training is complete and I am honored to be the teacher of such extraordinary talent. You have truly surpassed all of my expectations and more." "Thank you, sensei," Hinata said, filled with pride she had never felt before in her life, as Naruto's face split from the grin he was wearing. "But now it's your turn to be tested. Let me see if you're truly worthy of the title. Ninja." 3 trials will determine their fate in the eyes of their sensei, whether they have true strength or like the other ninja in the world today, foolish, greedy, selfish, self-centered, and consumed by hatred and fear, as a result of which that ninja of today has lost the true meaning of the word and what it truly means to be one. But now, for the first time in who knows how long, 2 ninjas, one who was thought to be the weakest and was cast aside for it, and the other, a public outcast for as long as he could remember for reasons he had no control over, will embark on 3 tests and, if successful, will show the world what it means to be a ninja and everything that entails. As the first trial approached, Naruto and Hinata stood before the aged master, each wearing an unreadable mask. Akira wasn't training that day because Master Kyoshi wanted her to see it, and the fact that she had awakened the second stage of her bloodline limit made things a lot easier. "If you remember, I gave each of you a scroll to keep and told you to keep it safe at all costs." They nodded. "Good. Each of you has one and I want you to capture the other's scroll while preventing the other and myself from getting your own. You have until sunset." "When do we begin, sensei?" Naruto asked quietly, looking around his surroundings to assess his chances and devise a strategy. "Tsuchinami no Jutsu, Doden." That was the last thing they heard before Master Kyoshi attacked them both with his staff, smashing it into the ground and causing a wave of earth as high as the trees to crash down on them both. Akira was astounded by the sheer power of the attack and the speed with which it moved while also fearful for the lives of her 2 surrogate siblings, but that fear was quickly dispelled when she saw Master Kyoshi dash off into the forest after something she couldn't make out. They actually got away with it? How far have you 2 come in your absence? Hinata found herself in the forest once more, but this time she was hunting and being hunted at the same time. All she had to do was track down Naruto and steal his scroll before he or Master Kyoshi stole hers. A thought struck her as she was quickly devising potential strategies while hidden behind a powerful cloaking technique she knew would not slow down the others.
Sensei didn't forbid me from using my Byakugan, she reasoned, but as she prepared to seal her special eyes, she was startled when they activated simply by thought.
More surprising was the distance she could see, miles upon miles in all directions with such sharpness and clarity she had never experienced before. She could even see the tenketsus of the 24 Narutos heading in all directions and the one older-looking person with a staff who came across a clone that dispelled itself as soon as he noticed it. Alright, Hinata thought as she dashed towards the nearest Naruto, hoping that he was the genuine article, one of the flaws of the prized dojutsu, time to get that scroll. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, Naruto said, summoning 24 clones of himself. Without saying anything, they all dispersed in all directions to form a sort of security web, immediately alerting the original and the others if any of the two targets were spotted, giving each other instant intelligence on the person's location and direction, not to mention keeping Hinata on her toes. Since Master didn't say anything about her eyes, I'll assume he gave her permission to go ahead, Naruto reasoned, smiling to himself. It won't take my love long to figure that out, it's the only thing I have right now to keep myself out of her sights. Within seconds, he received the thoughts of one of his clones, which dispelled itself to warn him and the others of the impending danger. 11 of the clones closest to Master Kyoshi took up positions to keep an eye on him, just as the original would. Hinata saw this with her Byakugan and smiled meekly at what he did. He's trying to control this game by controlling the pieces, and those fools said my love is an idiot. She smiled even more, this time spotting one of Naruto's clones from a distance where she was certain she couldn't be seen or detected. Sweden. Mizuden Ansatsu no Jutsu. She inhaled deeply and spat out a tiny orb of water aimed at a vital point just below the base of the skull, instantly dispelling it. Damn, Naruto thought, proud of his Sukihana for her pale eyes and flowery scent. With that last attack she probably saw straight through my plans. Well, most of them at the rate she's going she might find me before I find her. Hinata realized what was going on now. Naruto was triangulating her location based on data from the clones she dispelled. Each time one was dispelled, new information was received, and the clones and Naruto's positions were closed accordingly. Alright, Naruto-kun, Hinata thought proudly of the man she called Aoire Tenpai because of his blue eyes and golden hair, two can play at that game. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. In a puff of smoke, an identical copy of Hinata appeared, Byakugan eyes and all. Alright, let's get started, Hinata requested. They turned away from each other and dashed off in opposite directions in one swift motion. They took out Naruto's clone two at a time until Hinata's clone tried a long-distance kunai throw to end one of the clone's life, but the clone turned around and caught it. Damn, swore Naruto as they parted ways because they both knew where the other was and Hinata could clearly see where the real one was. Unfortunately, Master Kyoshi had slipped away from the shadow clone's ever-watchful eyes and was now tracing Hinata from her footprints, which neither she nor Naruto bothered to conceal. I guess I trained them too well, he misled himself as he observed the surroundings where a jutsu was performed. From the surroundings, he could clearly see that the jutsu that Hinata performed, long RNGE, was not Naruto's style though he was capable, was clearly on target but didn't hit the target. Perhaps a shadow clone. It appears that she has already passed this test. I'm curious how Naruto is doing. The sound of something smashing into a tree or a tree being destroyed was heard not far away as soon as he said this. I guess I spoke too soon, he said, quickening his pace toward the sound of battle. I hope I don't miss any of the action. Naruto and Hinata were engaged in a fierce taijutsu battle in a nearby clearing, Naruto using his elemental form of the closed fist style and Hinata using the true open palm style. There was no water available, But even without it, a single punch or open strike from either fighter would have put the other down for the count, possibly permanently depending on the accuracy of the strikes, which were extremely accurate. Master Kyoshi would have sworn that the two were plotting to kill each other if he hadn't known who they were. Their forms were flawless, their intentions were unreadable, and their strikes were lethal. In the heat of battle, Hinata discovered an opening in Naruto's right lung, while Naruto closed in with a spear hand strike sharpened by the wind to Hinata's right lung. They would have caused serious injury to each other if they hadn't separated at the last moment. They exchanged intense stares for what seemed like hours, measuring and sizing up their opponent and looking for gaps. Then they heard claps. Master Kyoshi entered the clearing and applauded his two students.
You fight like a true shinobi, and I am proud of you, but did you finish your assignment?
The sun is almost gone, and I haven't let go yet. Master Kyoshi cracked his neck and dropped into his Odayaka Katetsu fighting stance, but before he could continue, Naruto and Hinata both began to chuckle. May I inquire as to what is so amusing, my students? For one thing, you are a common enemy, and I doubt you can handle both Hinata and I at the same time, Naruto said as Hinata joined in. Plus, I already have Naruto's scroll. Kun's Hinata smiled, holding Naruto's scroll in her hand, giggling at Naruto's surprised expression. What? Naruto couldn't believe what he was hearing as he searched for his scroll but discovered it was missing. Oh well, there's no point in keeping it a secret any longer. He, like Hinata, pulled out a scroll that was originally on Hinata's person. But how? She wondered, not knowing when this could have happened, but then it hit them both. Right before you stopped, they both said simultaneously. That's fine, but you two are forgetting about me, said Master Kyoshi, but as he tried to charge, he discovered that one foot was stuck to the ground with static electricity and the other was slowly creeping higher. He could only ask, when? As he spoke, two clones emerged from the shadows, one of Hinata and the other of Naruto, each holding the final seal of their jutsu. I see, he said, a smile creeping up his cheek, for tactical insight, sticking to the ninja code at all times while facing the most unjust of adversaries, you too. Pass the first test, return to the house for your second task. They were in a field with knee-high grass and flowers and scattered short trees, plants, and shrubs as Master Kyoshi faced his students before snatching something out of the air and holding it in a closed hand. So, Sensei, what's our next test? Naruto was still buzzing from passing his last test. This, Master Kyoshi replied, opening his hand to reveal a small insect with paper-thin wings that resembled a bee and was quietly resting on his palm as if it had always been there. What is that, Sensei? Hinata inquired, I've never seen anything like it before. That would be nothing to most people, but Hinata was once on the same team as Aburame Shino, and being on the same team as the bug user would make anyone quite knowledgeable about various types of insects. No surprise, he said, raising it to give Naruto and Hinata a better look. This insect is called a ninjisk and it is only found here and is quite special as it is your second trial. What makes that bug so unique? Naruto inquired, slightly perplexed, about his teacher's sanity. The ninjisk is a creature that is nearly impossible to catch. It is ridiculously fast and can turn a sharp angle without slowing down, but despite all of this, it is the most fragile creature in the world. If a leaf falls on it, it will die in an instant. So, how does this relate to our trial? Naruto inquired, his face flushed from the suspense. As I was saying, I'm getting to that, Master Kyoshi glared at Naruto. Because of its frailty, it has developed a sort of sixth sense where it can sense danger and hostility in their area in order to stay safe, which is why you haven't seen one until now. Your second trial is to capture one of these and hold it in your palm for at least 12 hours, during which time it must not be damaged in any way, shape or form. Naruto blanched at the prospect of catching one and having it immediately splat in his hands. This was going to be difficult, especially when you can crush a pebble between your fingers with little thought. At the very least, the weights and constricting uniform would assist him in being gentle. Oh, before you begin, the old man pulled out 2 changes of clothes similar to the ninja outfits Naruto and Hinata were currently wearing, but they were not at all constricting. Take off your weights and your training clothes, and don't wear Byakugan. So much for the benefits. After nearly 4 years of training under Master Kyoshi, Naruto learned a lot of things, one of which was patience, but when you've been at something for almost a day, it starts to rub off on you. However, because the old man did not specify a time limit, Naruto and Hinata decided to sleep and resume their hunt in the morning, as the ninjask was difficult to spot in broad daylight among the shrubbery. When Naruto and Hinata were snuggled up to each other at night, Hinata lay on her side with Naruto behind her, his arms lovingly wrapped around her as Hinata's hands were within his. No matter how much they slept together or how much contact they had, she would never grow accustomed to him or him to her. Every time was a new experience, but tonight, despite the comfort, neither could sleep. "What's up, Hinata-chan?" Naruto asked in her ear. "It's this test," she said, turning to face him. "How can we catch those things?" "I know, I can't even get close to the stupid bug without it fleeing." "Perhaps it's our approach." "What exactly do you mean, Hinata-chan?" "Well, think about it, when Sensei caught it, it was as if he wasn't even paying attention to it while he was."
You're right, and he did say that it can sense when someone is trying to catch it or harm it in any way.
"I think I understand the purpose of this test," she said as she rose to her knees, Naruto's hands in her lap.
What exactly is it?
Well, no matter how well a ninja is disguised or concealed, even if they erase their very presence, it will be useless if his intentions are not concealed. "You're amazing, Hinata-chan. That's why I love you," he said, rising to place a gentle kiss on her lips as she blushed furiously, "but that's not the only thing we have to worry about." "You mean after we catch it, how do we keep it from dying, or better yet, how do we keep it from killing itself?" "Exactly, but I believe I know the key to that one."
What exactly is it?
"It's all about power." "Control?" "Yes, anyone as strong as us can smash boulders by punching them blindly, but if you have control of your strength, you can be both strong and gentle, kinda like how a ninja uses their wit instead of their muscle." "Wow. Naruto-kun, you're amazing." Naruto scratched the back of his neck, and they all said you're an idiot.
After a night's sleep, Hinata and Naruto awoke at their usual time to dress and warm up. Now that they knew what to do, they set out.
It was easier this time because all they had to do was act as if they weren't going to catch it, and when they were close enough, swoop it up in a swift yet gentle hand and hold on to it. They each kept it for the entire day, until Master Kyoshi decided to appear. "I see you've both caught one. Now open your hands and let me inspect the insect." As they both opened their hands, the ninjask lay still on their palms, as if content. "Congratulations on passing the second test. Come with me to your third and final trial." They followed him back to the house where Akira was waiting for them, but as they approached, Master Kyoshi abruptly stopped and turned to them with one of the most serious expressions they had ever seen on his face.
Be warned, the third test is by far the most difficult and will be the most difficult thing you will ever face in your life, because the most difficult and dangerous enemy you will ever face is
yourself. They both collapsed to the ground without warning. The old master had led them directly into the center of a seal diagram drawn on the ground, intended to create a powerful genjutsu on par with Tsukiyomi but more dangerous due to its personal content. Akira was concerned about her two surrogate brothers and sisters. Despite the fact that they were younger than her, she grew to admire them. Their strength and potential were becoming clearer by the day. "What does this do, Sensei? Are they going to be okay?" Akira inquired, her eyes filled with concern. That would be up to them, my dear, Master Kyoshi said when they weren't training. After all, they were all orphans in some way. What the hell do you mean by that? She exclaimed, losing her cool. She had the least emotional control of the group.
This is a genjutsu that summons a person's worst nightmares, darkest secrets, and deepest fears and manifests them in the form of a doppelganger, forcing the person to confront what they fear the most, becoming what they fear.
Well, since it's a genjutsu, Hinata can break out of it in no time with her Byakugan, and Naruto has no fear of anything, she boasted, relieved with the situation. Master Kyoshi laughed softly. What's the big deal? This is a special forbidden genjutsu that not even the Mangekyo Sharingan can escape. As long as they are within the seal's boundaries, the only way to escape is to confront and defeat it, and as an added bonus, they become truly strong in all senses of the word. What if they don't succeed?
Then it will all begin again, and only when they defeat their enemy will they know a power that is beyond all and incorruptible, a power that can only be attained by becoming one with yourself, he said as Akira looked up at him, yet they will still be that same Naruto and Hinata that we all know, only better.
Master Kyoshi then took a flute from his underwear and sat in a lotus position outside the seal. What are you going to do now? Akira asked, either angry at the inhumanity of the tests or terrified that she would have to go through it all sooner or later. You didn't think I was going to make it as simple as that, did you? He chuckled at Akira's surprised expression, and to make it even better, the Sharingan and Byakugan, or even one other, cannot see through it. What exactly do you mean? Can't see through it if there isn't anything to see through, my dear, the old master said, holding the instrument to his lips and closing his eyes, and remember this, music is nourishment for the soul, and I am simply poisoning that nourishment. Don't worry, I am simply playing on their emotions. In time, I will teach you this as I have taught those two, but for now, watch. And try not to get too upset. But before she could object, he began to play, a song that was both calm and angry, like an angry wolf tearing its way through a carcass. Violence, rage, and anger were the ingredients in this soup of hatred, a soup made with nothing more than a wooden flute and calm breaths. Mindscape of Hinata. Hinata had worked hard for years to become the woman she is now, strong, confident, and loved by the one man she had admired since the first time she saw him, and she was not going back to that pathetic state, not ever. Her stuttering, shyness, and, to a greater extent than she would admit, her gentle nature had all been set aside. But there she was, staring into the downcast pupil-less eyes of a midnight blue-haired girl a few years her junior, her finger poking together in a nervous gesture she'd long since abandoned. What does this mean, and who are you? She demanded of the stranger. Isn't it obvious? Said the person, I'm you? Anger welled up inside of her, and the sight of this fraud sickened her. No, she yelled, I was you, and I will never be again. Hinata raggedly attacked her doppelganger with an open palm strike to the heart, hoping to put an end to this nightmare, but as she was about to connect the blow, her doppelganger vanished into thin air. What was wrong with us then? Her tormentor asked from behind her back. I was weak, she admitted, tears welling up in her eyes as she knelt to her knees. In Naruto's mind, at the same time. Naruto took a look around him. It was dark, cold, and wet, and the wind whistled through the trees and hollow logs. He'd been to this location before, but he couldn't figure out why or how he ended up there in the first place. Suddenly, a dark aura descended upon him, ripping him from his thoughts. He quickly turned around in a ready stance, but nothing could prepare him for what he saw. Look upon me and see what you might become, it said in a deep voice, the words dripping with power. The figure's hair was spiky blonde and reached all the way to the center of his back, with deep red tips that faded seamlessly into blonde about 4 inches from the end. His eyes were blood red with black slits for pupils. They seemed to glow in the darkness that shrouded the figure's face like a mask, as if they could pierce through the strongest of all barriers with ease. The figure approached Naruto, his steps graceful, deliberate, and lethal, and then he came to a halt, his face clearly visible. His hair, tattered knee-length black coat, and ragged baggy pants ruffled in the icy wind as he crossed his arms across his chest and smiled a sinister smile that would make even the most battle-hardened warriors cower in fear. But Uzumaki Naruto was no battle-hardened warrior, so why didn't he run in fear? It was because he recognized this person and was enraged, almost beyond reason, and he still couldn't believe it. "Bastard! Who the hell are you, and why do you have those eyes?" He yelled angrily at the still smiling figure. "Fool!" the dark being replied, "don't you recognize who I am, or better yet, who you are?" "Lies," he screamed, his teeth clenched in rage, "I will never be what you have become." His double chuckled darkly. "What makes you think you can do it, stupid one? I will never use its chakra again. I will keep it locked up tight and throw away the key for the rest of my life?" My, we seem pretty certain of ourselves," the dark Naruto observed, "but you cannot deny the fact that I am not only you, but you are me." "You monster, shut up." "That hurt," he mocked, "for a second there, I mistook you for that pink-haired friend of yours." The mention of Sakura, whether it was a name or a description, enraged Naruto, and he hurled himself at his double, intent on ripping him apart with his bare hands. But before he could connect, the dark Naruto ducked under his punch and delivered a devastating punch to the original Naruto's midsection, causing him to double over in pain. "Why won't you understand, Naruto?" said the dark Naruto solemnly, "why won't you accept who you are?" Tears welled up in his eyes, threatening to fall like the blackened skies above. The malice and rage that lashed out from the wooden instrument had vanished, replaced by a slow haunting melody, a song that told a story of 1,000 heartaches that tore to the very soul and made one want to cry until the salty liquid formed its own sea. So sad that even the heavens would weep for no apparent reason. In Hinata's head. Hinata's timid image turned around and embraced the original in a warm embrace. "You were much stronger than you ever realized you were, and even to this day you are a lot stronger than you think," Hinata's double said softly into her sobbing counterpart's ear. "What sniff made me so strong?" she tried unsuccessfully to stop the flow of tears. "If I let my little sister beat me. I was even too weak to approach Naruto-kun. You were kind, Hinata. How could that have made me strong?" She bawled, her emotions out of control. "Why are you telling me all of this? Strength isn't always what's on the outside, but what's on the inside," she explained, adding, "You must create this balance. Only then will you no longer be lost, only then will you become truly strong." "How do I do this?" The original's Hinata croaked as the flood of tears subsided. "I am the gentleness in your heart that you lost a long time ago, and by accepting me, you accept yourself for who you are." "I see, I think I understand now," Hinata said as they both stood up, the double no longer downcast or shy, but a perfectly beautiful and confident woman who was both strong and gentle. "What happened? Before you looked just like me before I left Konoha, now you look. Amazing." The pair laughed together. "You accepted me, Hinata," Hinata said, puzzled, "because we are one. I am but a reflection. What you are really seeing is yourself." Hinata exclaimed, but then smiled warmly as the world seemed to fade away. As the world faded away, the original said, "Thank you, Hinata." "Think nothing of it, Hinata," the double said as it faded away. "Now, go show the world our true strength, and don't worry. This genjutsu will never work on you again. Once we're together, we'll never be apart." As she awoke to the world, her double's voice became increasingly distant, until it was nothing more than a faint whisper. She had passed her final examination. Also in Naruto's mind. Naruto struggled to get air back into his lungs. "If I accept it, I will be a monster, Naruto rasped, barely able to control his tears. That demon has been the source of my suffering my entire life. The tears finally found release as memories of a lonely orphan with nothing to live for but a dream that was taken from him by the one he once called friend, and memories of the one he called his best friend betraying him and attempting to kill him for power. I see, the dark Naruto replied, placing his hands on Naruto's shoulders. You're afraid that if you accept that the Kyuubi is a part of you, you'll become exactly what those fools thought of you, but you must understand, it is a part of you, and the more you deny it, the more it kills you. What? The Kyuubi has been a part of you for almost as long as your own beating heart has been a part of you. What would happen if you suddenly denied that your heart is a part of you? Why are you telling me all of this? Naruto exclaimed, his emotions out of control. Why did I have to be the one to carry this bastard fox?
It's been a long time since you've cried or shown any sign of sadness, Naruto, the double said, but just because you accept that it's a part of you doesn't mean you'll become it.
What does it all mean? It means you won't have to fight or struggle for control because it will be a part of you and will do you no harm. I think I understand, Naruto, the original said. There is no reason for me to hurt myself if I accept it as part of myself because it would also hurt itself. I know you'd understand, Naruto, the double said, but please tell me who you are. Naruto stood tall, looking into his double's eyes, which were warm darkness, and smiling a genuine smile with his own warm darkness eyes. We are Uzumaki Naruto, the son of Uzumaki Kushina and the fourth Hokage Namikaze Minato, the boyfriend and future husband of the most beautiful woman in the world, and the Jinchuriki of Kyuubi no Kitsune. With each word he spoke, more and more power seemed to ooze from each syllable, and by the end of the power that erupted from his body, Master Kyoshi and Akira were struggling to breathe, while Hinata, who was still under the genjutsu, smiled. And what is the purpose of our existence? The double inquired. I swear by my Nindo to become the strongest ninja ever and to restore the ancient ways and honor to the world of ninja. And as Double faded away with the rest of the world, he had a smile on his face that did not match his sinister image. It was a smile of pride in himself in the fact that he would no longer have to fight and would be at peace. Good, the distant Double said, go and fulfill our dreams, and remember, you are never alone. And with that, he was gone, and Naruto was thrust back into the real world, having successfully completed the final trial. In real life, Naruto awoke shortly after Hinata, quickly scanning the area to ensure he was where he was supposed to be and that Hinata was still there, despite the fact that he was confident she could handle anything, when he noticed Master Kyoshi and Akira sitting on the ground. Naruto scowled at the elderly man. What the hell was that old man? Screamed Naruto. That was your final trial, and I am proud to say that you passed. Hinata nearly fainted from shock, and Naruto simply stared with an open mouth. You both have earned my respect as ninjas, but you are no longer my students. What do you mean, sensei? Naruto inquired, as if he had done something wrong. Did we do something wrong? I'm sorry I called you old, but you were old. The old master laughed heartily at Naruto and Hinata's expense. No, let me explain, he said, waking up from his fit of laughter and wiping a tear from his eye. I have nothing more to teach you, and as such, it is time for you to leave. What about Akira Ne-chan? Hinata inquired. Though she has a very powerful bloodline limit, when she arrived, she was not a ninja in any way, just a normal person with special abilities. When her training is complete, she will find you. Alright, so when are we leaving? Naruto inquired before his stomach rudely interrupted. You have been through a lot. Come. Let us celebrate your victory with a grand feast, and then you may depart when you are well rested. So they ate, and boy did they eat. Hinata ate like a beast possessed, grabbing a drumstick and wolfing down mouthfuls of rice, vegetables, fruits, meat, and whatever else was defenseless on the table. They talked and laughed together after dinner. It pleases me to see how much you have grown in the last 4 years, but keep in mind that when you return to the outside world, only 2 years will have passed. They nodded their heads in agreement. I also have gifts for each of you to commemorate this occasion. Wow! Thank you, Sensei, Naruto exclaimed. First and foremost, Hinata. He reached under the table and pulled out a scroll the size of one of the 2 scrolls Akira always carried with her. Thank you, Sensei, Hinata said, holding the massive scroll up to a scrutinizing eye. Open it and see for yourself. It could be very useful to you. Hinata unfurled the scroll gently, and what she discovered made her look like a fish. That is the bird contract. When you need help, call on one and they will come to you. It is special because it is a contract for all birds and was lost to the world for centuries. You may sign it later. Naruto will help you, but now it is time for his parting gift. Master Kyoshi rose from his seat and walked to the back of the room, where he took his staff from the mantle. I couldn't, Sensei, Naruto said, I couldn't possibly take your staff. It appears to be too valuable for you to simply give away. That's why I'm not, he explained as he placed it in front of a perplexed Naruto. I'm entrusting these blades to you. Blades? Blades, yes. The old man took it up, strapped the staff to his back, and simultaneously pulled the upper and lower ends of the staff, revealing 2 swords. The 2 swords were identical straight-bladed kodachi except that one had a blue blade with the kanji for water on it and the other had a white blade with the kanji for wind on it.
These blades are 2 of only 5, and they have incredible powers, but they can only be properly used by someone who has a matching elemental affinity. But you 2 are different because you are the only one who can bend your element, and as such, your natural understanding has increased, allowing you to properly wield any of the 5, but the level of power will not be the same.
Master Kyoshi resheathed the 2 ancient artifacts and handed them to Naruto, who accepted them with reverence. Thank you, Sensei, I'll take care of them, he said as he strapped it to his back to get a feel for it. What became of the other 3? Hinata inquired. For fear of their power and the greed of some, one has been sealed away, and others have been lost, for fear that they will fall into the hands of element benders like yourself and cause great destruction. I see, Hinata stretched her arms, if you don't mind Sensei, but I'd like to rest now, Naruto-kun? Master Kyoshi nodded in agreement, and Naruto extended his hand in a gentlemanly manner to Hinata as they walked to their futons for the final time in their home. When Naruto and Hinata awoke the next day, they discovered 2 sets of clothing similar to their training clothes except that they did not restrict the wearer's movement in the least and were made with Naruto's symbol on the back of the 2 and they were both made from cloth that reflected no light and was colored in a black that if you stared into it felt like you were being sucked into an empty abyss. When it was time to leave, Master Kyoshi and Akira arrived to bid them farewell. Before you leave, allow me to give you a few more words of advice, they nodded. His advice was always well appreciated even if a little difficult to understand at times. We are all still students, even I in my 97th year of life still have much I can still learn. And you Hinata keep your heart gentle for you that will be more than enough. After all you are one of the 3 most powerful ninja in the world, but most importantly. Thank you, Sensei. Ninpo. Kagesachi no Jutsu, I will never forget you. As Naruto and Hinata sank deeper into the portal, it opened up beneath them. Keep an eye on me, Sensei. I'll make you proud, and Akira, when your training is finished, if you want to find me, just look for my name. You'll be welcomed. And then they were gone, the portal closing, leaving no trace of their presence. What did he mean, Akira? Master Kyoshi inquired. I'm not sure, she said, propping one arm on the other and scratching her chin. But where do you think he went and what do you think he'll do? Even I cannot answer that one, he is far too unpredictable, he said proudly. It's a good thing he's not our enemy or wants to end the world because it will take everything the 5 great shinobi countries have to stop him and nothing can stop them with Hinata by their side.
So that's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the channel for more awesome stories like this. Thank you. See you all in my next video.